Welcome to Signs of Destiny 2004. I'm your host, Dr. Chet Snow, and we're continuing our Sunday afternoon program. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you Bert Janssen. Bert is a photographer from Holland who has been working in frontier sciences for a quarter century and about 10 years or so investigating the phenomenon of crop circles. He has been in England numerous times to do research. He has made 3 documentaries on the subject, one of which won an award at the EBE award at the conference in Laughlin, Nevada, even though Bert wasn't personally there. At this time, he has given lectures in Holland and England and Germany and Belgium. This is his first time coming to the United States. So let's give a warm welcome to Bert Janssen.
Thank you. First, I think we need some sound on this little microphone I hear. Okay, I have to use this one, though I'm very mobile. I move a lot on the stage, so they will have a hard time filming me and just following me. Now you wonder, you have heard now so many things about crop circles. You have heard Francine Blake, and she has filled you in about the situation in the UK. You have heard Jeffrey Wilson, who had this magnificent story about the US situation. You have seen Ellen Brown, who told you everything about the geometry of crop circles, and you just have seen Nancy Talbott, and she has told you all the research done on crop circles. So what the hell do I do here? I can hear your mind thinking this question. And you know what? After all these lectures you have heard, there's this one very important question that they did not address. This one question is, why do we get these crop circles? Lots of research is done, lots of geometry is there, beautiful formations, but the first question is, are they meant for us humans? And the second one is, if yes, why? Now, I'm not going to give all the answers, but what I'm going to try to do is take you along with my adventures, and I've been going through the crop circles now for 10 years, and show you what I came across, and bit by bit, it will fill it in itself. And first, we'll go back to a year 1995. This is actually the very first crop circle I saw in the UK, and when I walked through this crop circle, I thought, wow, I was impressed, because it looked so tidy. It looked so nice. It was so beautiful laid down. The only thing was that I could not figure out what I was looking at. It's very difficult if you walk through a formation to see the actual shape. And it was only 2-3 days later when I saw this picture, and I thought again, oh, why? Because I'm a mathematician from profession. I studied mathematician, and that is a mathematical design. I immediately recognized the theorem of Pythagoras. You know, a squared, b squared is c squared, and you could prove that with a straight triangle, a right triangle. You had this one square on the side of the triangle, another square at the side of the triangle, a third square, and you prove one square plus the other square is the third square. A squared plus b squared is c squared. And what do you see here? About the same. And for me, this was the start of my adventure. I thought, wow, there's mathematics in the crop. Somebody or something is trying to tell us something. But what? And the first thing I did was look into history of crop circles. Were there other people before me who had studied this, who had studied these shapes? And very quickly I came at the work of John Martineau. Ellen Brown has mentioned him, and John Martineau, I think that's the guru of crop circle geometry. He was the first one, he was the godfather. And I studied his work, and I want to show you one example of things that he came up with, which I thought were really intriguing. He mainly studied formations like this, small ones, rings, circles, bars, boxes. I have this little toy here with me. And what he did was putting other geometry around these formations. He added more geometry to it. And to his own amazement, he saw that that was possible. And he would get really nice shapes. What he would do is, let's say, put a simple circle there. And then he would fill that circle in with a pentagram. And to his own amazement, he saw that this ring just fits into this pentagram. This is a real big coincidence, if that happens. But you can put even another circle around it, around there and touching there. You put in a pentagram, and you get the same situation again. That's even more of a coincidence. You can even put a third circle like that, and you guess already what's going to happen. Put in a pentagram, and look what happens. It's coincidence after coincidence after coincidence. And John Martineau wrote this beautiful book, The Book of Coincidence. And I really recommend you to get it, to read it. It's out of print, but try to get it, to borrow it from somebody, because he did not study one of these crop circles, he studied dozens of them. And they had all the same feature. But there was one thing that bothered me. Because these designs, by the time I arrived in England, were gone. They were not there anymore. It had all started off as circles, and after that we got the quintuplets, and Alan Brown has showed you all the squaring, the circle, the quintuplets had done. Then all these formations came, and these formations had this geometry, and that was it. From that moment on, we got mandala-shaped formations, and suddenly nothing applied anymore. No squaring of the circle, nothing like that. No pentagrams, it was all over. And I could not believe that. I thought, that cannot be. It cannot be that we have such a phenomenon, and we have all this geometry, and suddenly it's gone. It's all over. So what I did, in a one moment of bright thought, I thought, let's just play around with little tools, with the compasses, with a ruler, a piece of paper, and let's try to reconstruct these formations. Now you have to understand what construction techniques mean. What I do here is, I start off as a random circle, and I use this circle that's going to dictate me, tell me what the next step has to be. I put, let's say, the needle there, and I will make a second circle going to the center of this circle. So I don't do any measurements. There's no measurement involved. It's just using the points that are already there. Now you can make a third circle with the center there, going through these centers, you get a thing like this. You all have done this at school. You don't measure anything. It's what's called construction techniques. And I used that, and I came up with this shape. And this was in 95. And the whole autumn of 95, and the whole winter, and the whole spring of 96, I was making crop circles, because starting with this shape, you can make many, many crop circles. You can reconstruct them. I won't show them here, because you're already completely filled up with geometry, so I won't show that here. You can go to my website, you will see all these reconstructions done. But I spent 3/4 of a year, a whole year, doing this. And then in 96, I came back to England, and the very first crop circle I saw there was this one. And gone were the shapes. Because this is a fractal. And again, my mathematical background was there again. I thought, a fractal, it's numbers. It's normal numbers, regular numbers, irregular numbers, natural numbers. It's all formulas and numbers. And I got really excited about this, because this was one of the very first crop circles that you could recognize. This was a fractal. All the other things were nice shapes. Perhaps it was this, perhaps it was that. This is a fractal. No doubt about it. And I got really carried away with that. And a whole year went by that I just made calculations. I played around with numbers, more numbers, until 1997, spring 1997, I got an email telling me there's a new crop circle, winterbourne basset. I opened the attachment to find this, and paf, gone were the numbers. And there were the shapes again. Because look at this. I was tempted. I had to get my compasses, my ruler out, and try this one. And I did, and I'm going to show you this one, because it's so simple. But it's very intriguing, because here is something really special going on. Starting with this very simple basic pattern, I construct this circle, and again realize that every step I take is dictated by the previous steps. There's nothing I can do randomly, so this circle can only go through those points. This triangle can only be of this shape. It cannot be smaller or bigger, because it won't fit anymore. This little circle in the center just fits in this triangle. Cannot be bigger, cannot be smaller. What you can do now is draw this circle again 3 times, this same circle, and put the center exactly there, at this intersection point, this crossing point. And you get this. Realize that everything is continuously following out of the previous steps. I'm not measuring, I'm not guessing, it's just geometry. It's reconstructing. You can put these circles in, take the appropriate lines, you get this, fill it in, and you have this. Now what is now so intriguing about this crop circle? I will go back and show it. This is a diagram, the diagram I constructed to make this. The most important thing is this red circle. I needed this red circle to place these circles at the tips, to get them at the correct position. But look in the field. There is no circle. But all the other elements are identical to my method. The way I constructed this, it's identical in the field. This circle here is exactly of the same size I constructed it. The position of it is at exactly the right position. It's not closer to the center, it's not farther away. It's exactly how I did it, how I, human, constructed it. But I needed that one circle, but that one circle is not there in the crop circle. It's like the phenomenon is telling me, Bert, the method you're using, very smart, you're on the right track there. But look what we can do. We can skip things. You can't, Bert. And I was really intrigued by that. I will show you one other of this, because this is a crop circle that really struck me of different things, different facts that happened to this crop circle. I will show you the position of these three crescents. They could have been fatter or smaller or thinner, further apart, closer. Nobody would have noticed. And we all accepted the crop circle like it was, like it's sitting there. But I will show you that there's a special geometry just laying underneath this crop circle. This is a little bit further in all the construction things. It's all one following the other. You have here now two triangles, and realize that these two triangles are family. They're related. If I make one bigger, the other one will get bigger. If I make one smaller, the other one will get smaller. They are really interlocked. There's nothing I can do about one triangle and it's not influencing the other one. Now what you can do is have a circle with its center there touching this little one, and have one with its center there touching the big one. And you see what happens. You get a crescent. Now this is only one crescent is possible. That's this crescent. It cannot be bigger, cannot be smaller. You can do it 3 times. You get 3 crescents. And you get a crop circle. These crescents in this crop circle could not have been bigger, or smaller, or further apart, or close to each other. No, it would not have fitted anymore. No, the geometry, in fact, told this crop circle you have to be like this. But again, where are the triangles? I needed 2 triangles. I could not do it without these 2 triangles. And look here, there's no triangle. Seemingly, this phenomenon can just skip it, but at the same time follows the same rules. It still keeps on following the construction rules we humans use, but skips steps. Why is it such a special crop circle? This is the one that, when it was formed, Donald Fletcher came to the same spot where I took this photo about a week after this crop circle was formed. And I hope it's going to function on this machine. If not, I will tell you. 3, 2, 1. It's a pity. It's a video. There it moves. And look there. You see the ball of light. A ball of light. If you really study this footage, you will see there are 4 balls of light at least. Especially at the start of the footage, you can see a couple of balls. He only follows one, and then it disappears. He cannot follow it anymore. But it's the same crop circle, the same field. I went the year afterwards. This was 1999. I went back in 2000 to have a look at the field. And this was the situation, this is the situation 1999, in 2000. And look what happened. Do realize that this crop was harvested. The crop was gone. The field was plowed. New crop was put in. And what you see here, it's not weeds growing in the crop. It's the crop itself that's darker. And why is it darker? Because it's so much taller. Something has happened in the soil. Something has caused these plants to be much taller. It's the same crop circle with this really, really intriguing geometry, a geometry that's based on human logic. Keep that in mind. Then, in 1997, this happened. And I thought, no, not again those fractals, those numbers. I don't want them anymore. I've had it with that. So I really skipped this formation. Though this one got really famous, I focused on this one. I thought that suits me much better, because this is a nice shape. So I did. I reconstructed this, and I will show you only 2 steps. But this is one of the biggest steps, these circles, because they have the centers there. And I will show you the end result. That's this. And when I saw this diagram, I thought, oh, why? Because these little circles are the places where I put the needle in the paper. Now what you can do is replace my compasses with 2 humans. One is holding a rope, and one is walking around. The one who's holding the rope is the needle. Now see what happens. All the needles are in flattened crop. The one who has to stand there and hold the rope never has to stand in standing crop. It always can be in down crop. But on the other hand, we do have a phenomenon here. Why is this phenomenon taking into account our shortcomings? Because we humans, if we would do it, we need that ring. That ring had a certain purpose. When I saw this, I thought, wow, not only is it following our techniques, it even takes into account that we need to stand there and hold the rope. This phenomenon can do without that. It could have done without this ring, but the ring is there. This is the actual formation. Then, the next year, I go back to Wiltshire again, and I come in this formation, and lots of people were really distracted by this formation. Why? Because of this, what you see here. There are little lines laying under the downed crop. They got the wrong name, construction lines, because a lot of people thought these lines, which you see, are used by hoaxes to first make the grid, and then flatten the crop. And when I saw this, I thought, oh, Bert, that was stupid. That was really stupid. These lines, you have seen them before, but you ignored them. You have seen them here. I have seen them in this year, in 97. There it is. You can see it there. You can even see it here. If you have a really close-up picture of this formation, you will see it. This is called a Koch fractal, and I will show you why it's called a Koch fractal, and why this one was indeed important. You see, Koch fractal works as follows. It's a fractal. It starts off as a triangle. At the sides of the triangle, you put new triangles. At the sides of the triangles, you put more triangles, and it goes like follows. You add triangles to the sides of the triangles, then you add triangles here. It's very symmetrical, and you can keep on going and on going. That's a fractal, how it works, the Koch fractal. On the left is a Star of David. On the right is a Koch fractal. See the difference. See that you have all these lines here. And see you have only lines here. Now look at the crop circle. If you look really close up, I've been in this formation, I've seen it. There's only one triangle there. This is actually a Koch fractal. This is not the Star of David. The phenomenon was saying here, I make a Koch fractal, and I will show you that it's actually a Koch fractal because I will put a triangle there. That will tell you that this is a Koch fractal, because the silhouette is the Star of David, but it's not the Star of David. Again, the phenomenon tries to communicate on somehow, some way. Back to these lines, these annoying lines at Toast Meat Cops, where everybody was saying, oh, that's Frank. These lines are the lines that you see here. This is a reconstruction. If you make a geometrical reconstruction of the Toast Meat Cop formation, you can do that. You can start with one 7-pointed star. From that one 7-pointed star, you can step by step by step come to this diagram. It all follows one after each other. It's not something you have to cast. You get this diagram. And what actually was in the field was this. This is what was in the field. The black was flattened. The white lines were the lines that were laying under the downed crop. Now, strangely enough, these are the same lines I used in my diagram. So again, people were saying, yeah, there you have it, Bert. I told you, it's all a big hoax. You see, they use that like you use it. No, it's not that simple. Because I used all these lines. I could not do with less. I had to use all these lines to make this shape. If I need these lines, you should have found all these lines in the standing crop, but they're not there. Now I can hear you thinking, yeah, but perhaps they can do without that, Bert. Perhaps they can do it without these lines. Sure. But what would you do if you can do without it? You wouldn't use them. You would not find any lines at all. So you have two options. One is you find many lines, or you don't find any lines at all. The mere fact that the lines are there proves to me it's the phenomenon. Because every human would have done that differently. And this really, really caught to me, because there I thought, how is this possible? In 95, I come in this crop circle phenomenon, thinking I only spent 1 year in England. I come across this mathematical crop circle, from one leads to the other. I see this phenomenon is using all kinds of human technology, at least human ratio, human logic, it uses human methods. And I was really confused until I stumbled onto the work of Jung. I don't know if you know the work of Jung. I will tell you a little bit. One of the things, he's one of the biggest psychologists we have had in our history. One of the things he would do, he would try to therapy patients that were deeply depressed. And the thing he would use, he would tell them, make paintings. Just paint. And he would do that. You had all these depressed people. And you can see what happens. You get paintings like this. Stuck in the rocks, it's black, it's dark, it's very threatening. Spiky rocks here, it's very doom, doom, doom. And Jung would look at this and say, yes, yes, make a new painting. Okay, and they would do that. And you see, this is the next painting. I have a sequence from one patient, but he did, I don't know how many of them. And they all ended the same. Because this was the next stage. And Jung would say, okay, make another one, make another one. And there, it was getting more colorful. A circle appeared, another one. And you see what's happening. He said, make another one. And make another one. And you see what's happening. If the humanity, if we humans dig really deep inside of us, we express ourselves in geometry. This is how the human mind expresses itself at the basic level. And I was really intrigued by this because on one hand, I saw this crop circle phenomenon that was using all these human factors. And it was really getting to me, they were hitting me. And on the other hand, you had this work of Carl Gustav Jung. And this Carl Gustav Jung work showed me that humans seemingly deep down produce all these shapes. And I was really disturbed about this. I didn't know what to think of it. And the thought came to me, this is all right, Bert. Perhaps these shapes do touch you, and perhaps Jung has found that geometry can come out of humans, but still is there the question, are these crop circles for us humans? I studied it now for many, many years. Look, it's 2003. 8 years I'm studying them, and still I have this question in my head, is it for you, Bert? Or is it for some collected travelers? Is it just road signs? Is it something else? Is it meant for the earth? And we think, we humans, we have this big ego. We think, oh, it's all for us. The crop circles are here for us, and we're going to study them. I was not so convinced about that. Until this year, 2003, when I came to this crop circle, I walked through this crop circle, and what important is this little thing there. That's a stone monument. That's a human factor. We humans put it there. And the crop circle is exactly aligned. Do you see it? Middle, one of the rays, there's this stone thing. So this crop circle was aligned to a thing that we humans put in the field. It could have been aligned to trees or to hilltops. No, it aligned itself to that thing. And I thought, oh, wait a minute. This is Morgan's Hill. Just around the corner of Morgan's Hill is North Down, and there was a crop circle in North Down. This is a situation from above. This is Morgan Hill. There is North Down. There was not a crop circle in 2003. Perhaps you know this one. And that one was aligned to 4 burial places, 4 tumuli, as they are called in the UK. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. Now we have already 2 crop circles. They are both aligned to elements we put in the landscape. We did that. We humans did that. And then I noticed that if you draw a line through these things, you would land up there. And there's that little marker, just there behind the hill. So they're all connected. If you take the line the other side, it's connected to this crop circle in Avebury. Suddenly I noticed that all these crop circles were aligned to each other by means of things that we humans had put into the field. And suddenly it eluded to me from, oh wow, but this has happened so many times. Why were you so blind, Bert? You've seen it so many times, you never noticed it. And I will show you what has happened so many times, and we were all blind. That situations like this. This is a simple circle, 2003 in Holland. The major thing here are the tram lines. These are the lines that the farmer uses to spray the land. He will use that a few times during the summer. He uses a machine. Usually the distance between these lines is equal because he goes from the machine and then he goes back, goes front, goes back again. Here you have a different situation. This farmer, I don't know why, but he made this more narrow. This is important because this is not a natural situation. This is a situation that he put it there, artificially. This is a diagram to show you how this situation is. I won't show you all the steps. That's getting too much overload again. So I just will show you the end result. That's this. It's all connected to these tram lines. It's all connected to everything, to tram line here, tram line there. It connects there to tram lines again. It's one big thing, one big connection. This very simple circle, it connects everywhere. And suddenly I thought, but what does it mean, Bert? Does it actually mean that there's some kind of communication going on then? It's meant for you, it's meant for somebody else, it's meant for us humans? And then I realized, wait a minute, how did I get to England? Why did I go to England? What did happen that made me go to England? Even before 95, before I saw this mathematical thing, something had happened to me. And that's this situation. This crop circle, big crop circle, appeared in Witten. This is a tiny village just outside of Assen. And that's the town Jeffrey Wilson mentioned yesterday. That's the town where the first worldwide crop circle was ever reported, many hundred years ago in this town. And I lived in 1994 just outside Assen. Strange coincidence. I read this in the newspaper. It's now in August, all the fields are gone. I'm coming back from a holiday from Italy. And I see this in the newspaper. I'd never seen a crop circle, but now it's so close to a house, to my home. I think, I have to see this. The only thing was that they didn't say where it was. They just said it's south of this little town of Assen. And I thought, no problem, I will just drive and I will just find it. So I drove around and drove around and drove around, and Holland is flat, really flat. There are no hills, there's no way you can look into fields. The fields were already harvested, and in fact, it was sheer impossible to find it. And after many hours, I came to this spot, and I looked straight ahead, and there I saw it. I could see it there. I thought, yes, there it is. So I walked in the field, and this was there. Now, this is one of the very, very few photos that does exist of the crop circle, because if you look, it's not a big circle, and there are these little circles around it. It's a quintuplet. It's not the thing that was in the newspaper. Later on, it turned out that the whole north of Holland that year had two crop circles. The one that was in the paper and this one. Not published anywhere. But I found it. And I was really excited. So I thought, my friend Janet, she has to see this. So I went back to the car, and I looked back while I was at the car, and then I noticed it. I could not see it anymore. I thought, that is strange. The first time I came this road, I could see it sitting there. So I went back with my car, drove. It was impossible to see. Yeah, that was my reaction. I thought, this cannot be. There's a little dip in the land. I could not see it, but still, the first time I've seen it. I see it sitting there. That brought me to England. I thought, wow, I have to see this myself now. Strange enough, 2 years later, the same happens again. It's Assen. I don't know why. Somebody reports this crop circle to me. I go there, we walk in, we look at the crop circle. There, that's me, much younger there. There's the guy who found it. And I asked this guy from, how did you find it? How did you know about this crop circle? And he just tells me, I saw it out of the train. I was going with the train over this railroad here. I looked outside and saw the crop circle. Now, he had nothing to do with crop circles. He was not really interested in crop circles. But I walked here. I walked to this point. And I noticed there was no way you could see it from there. So I took the train myself. And we have these double-decker trains. We have these special trains in Holland that you have 2 floors, like the buses in England. So you can sit up really high. I took that train. No way you could see it. And still this guy had seen it. Like there had been a shift in space. A spatial shift. He had seen it, reported it. This was not a bullshit circle. It's a circle where I found this white powder. BLT, Nancy Talbott, has researched this. They have done lots of reports about this. It's a really strange material. This was a big thing happening there, but it could not have been seen by the eye. And I thought, oh, wait a minute. I was so fused now by this idea that something was shifting, and I suddenly remembered a friend of mine who died a couple of months ago. And I had long discussions always with him, and he would say, if I would come up with things like, hey, Bram was his name, Bram, how can it be? How can it be all these strange shifts in that? How can it be? And then he would say, Bert, it's quantum. It's quantum. And he was very much in quantum mechanics. And he would explain, he would do this. He would sit like this, and then he would do this. And I knew what he meant. It's in quantum physics that you create your own reality. Everything is based on a probability wave. And he would just mimic the wave. He would sit there. It's a wave. It's a probability wave. You have photons. They have all characteristics, but you don't know what they are. They have all the probabilities. And once you do an observation where you look at them, they will become a reality. And he said, what happens there, Bert, is that somehow you are manipulating, or somebody else is manipulating, this field, this quantum field. And I thought, shit, this cannot be true. And then suddenly I realized this crop circle. Francine Blake has showed this circle. And this is an important formation because of this man here, John Melville. John Melville is a pilot. I fly a lot with him. Lots of my photos on my website I've taken out of the airplane from John Melville. And John Melville tells me a story. He tells me, look Bert, 30th of May, there was this woman who rang me up. She wanted to fly over her house. She lives in Avebury. She wanted to fly and see her house from above. So I do that. I fly, and something really, really strange has happened that day to him. This is the airplane where we fly with. And I have flown the same thing again with him. I wanted to see this situation from the air. That's me, John Melville. We're going up in the air, and I will show you the situation. This is the situation. There's Avebury, Silbury Hill, that's the Long Barrow, there's Beckhampton. I want you to focus here, on this area. In 2003, there was a crop circle here. That one was harvested, but not plowed. So the field sat there the whole winter, and in spring, all kinds of weeds were growing up again, and you could see the same crop circle again, but now it was a weed circle. And you could see it from the air. So he would fly over this area, there's this crop circle, and he would point it out to this woman he was flying with. You see there, this is just a picture of the crop circle. I don't have one of this wheat circle, but it was about this size, a little smaller, and you could see it from the air, and he was pointing it out to her. He comes back from Avebury. It's 11 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock. Remember this time. This is important, 11 o'clock. He flies back. That same day, somebody else wants to fly to Avebury. He flies again, goes up again, goes the same way again. And from miles of distance, he noticed something has changed. This was the situation at 11 o'clock. Now it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and this is the situation. This formation happened during daytime. It appeared there in daytime. There's this little crossing, it's hardly visible anymore. I have flown this. They were so close to each other, you could not have missed it. That thing was not there at 11 o'clock. This is what the farmer did, what Francine Blake told you about. This date, it's the date of the crop circle conference organized by Francine Blake and her Wiltshire study group. And one of the attractions, what you can do during that day, is fly with a helicopter. It's about this helicopter. I think it's even the same helicopter as this one. You go up, you do a flight of about 30 minutes, you fly about 10 crop circles, you come back, and the next group gets in. And the next 8 people get in. You go up, go for 30 minutes, and come back, and that goes on the whole day. That day, this helicopter, the pilot of this helicopter was Peter Vellacott. And Peter Vellacott is the pilot of Steve Alexander. He flies with Steve Alexander. He has seen so many crop circles. He knows how a crop circle looks from above. And this is the situation he was flying. There is this cut crop circle, there is Silbury Hill. It's this hill I want you to focus on. Overton Hill. He's flying this now 3 times. Francine Blake told you this yesterday, how he was flying this up and down. And then in the afternoon, I think it's flight 5, can be flight 4, flight 6. But suddenly he noticed something has changed dramatically. This was the situation until about 12 o'clock. At 1:30, this is the situation. The snake-like formation, and Francine told you there was a whole bunch of Swiss people in the helicopter and none of the cameras did function. One did. That's the reason why I have this one photo of this crop circle. And I want you to notice one important detail about this photo. That's this. The time does not make sense. This is nighttime. I asked this guy there's nothing wrong with my camera, the time is correct, but at this photo it shows nighttime. But it's daytime. Then something really disturbing happens. Not this is just how it was cut out. I meet this guy. This is Dr. John Sherwood. And if you ask, why is it always you with him in those photos? I will show you that people sometimes ask it. That's how I take these photos. I take them like this, and you get photos like this. They're really good. Cheap. John Sherwood, Dr. John Sherwood, he's going around crop circles for many, many years. He has done really thorough research. He's a guy to be taken serious. I've no reason to doubt his words. He tells me the following: Bert, you know this crop circle, this snake thing at Overton Hill that this pilot saw at 1:30 and he didn't see it at 12? He said he made a mistake. I said, how do you mean, John? He said, I was at the field, John told me. I was there 10 o'clock in the morning and the formation was there. I've not been in it, but I've seen it. I sat there at 10 o'clock, so the pilot has made a mistake. And later on he told me, listen, this formation at the Ridgeway, I was there early that morning. This is the formation that my pilot, Melville, who I fly with always, had seen only in the afternoon, not in the morning. And again, John Sherwood is saying, oh, listen, Bert, I've seen that thing early in the morning already. And I thought, how is this possible? Who is lying here? Is he lying? Or are these pilots lying? Because those two stories don't add up. Somebody is lying here. Until I realized, no, it's not. Something has happened to time. And I don't know, I cannot explain what exactly has happened, but something has shifted. Like something shifted in spatial context. When I saw the thing in '94, now it shifted in time, so he saw something that still had to happen. And I thought about this shifting, and suddenly I realized, wow, this shifting, it's going on so much now. Look at this. You have just heard a lot about this guy. I know this guy as well. I have met him for the first time in '98. This is me with him in a crop circle, and I've been to Robert's place many times. And I also stood on that balcony. I've witnessed it, I've seen the fields behind that house, I've filmed it, and I've seen these traces of these balls of light, and I have these photos of them. The burn marks they left, what you see in the window stills, and the white powder of the big ball of light that swashed into the window. It's still there, the powder is kept somewhere in the safe, they have a few of it in the house, and I photographed this. And suddenly I realized, wow, something strange is going on here. Because all these years, Robert van der Broeke is seeing balls of light. It happened to him for the first time, I think 10, 12 years ago. He saw it, nobody else was seeing it. Then suddenly somebody else was seeing it, his sister, then his mother, then his father. But it were all balls of light, and they got more intensified. The balls of light got more violent. There got more and more of them. Nancy Talbott just told you about that. But then suddenly this year, something dramatically happens. The whole phenomenon is shifting. Like the spatial shift, like the time shift, now there's a shift in this phenomenon. Because the balls of light who were always outside the house now became a phenomenon that started to appear inside the house. You have seen these photos. Nancy has, so that's how it looks now. I didn't know if Nancy would show them to you, so I have only 3 of them, not to overload you again. But I saw these things and thought, wow, this is a whole change. It's not balls of light anymore. It's gone inside the house, and suddenly they look like creatures. It's even what Nancy told you. We call them creatures. And when I saw this, I really caught a little bit of creeps. Because, I actually did. Because Robert van der Broeke, he's so much connected to the crop circles. He has all these balls of light appearing around his house. He has this connection to crop circles he's seeing being formed. And suddenly we have these creatures. And look at this creature. One hand, it looks really friendly. But on the other hand, it reminded me of aliens. And I don't want that connection. That's me. But I don't want the connection between aliens and crop circles. I want to have none of that. I want to stay away from that. And when I saw this photo, I thought, oh no, shit. Yeah. Actually happened. But then I was really, really lucky this year. This has been a really pivotal year for me because I had the great luck to meet this man this summer, John Mack. Remember when we started this conference, we did a little reconference about him. I went to crop circles with him this summer. And I was a little bit surprised to meet him there. I was very honored. I even had an evening dinner with him. I sat beside him so I could talk the whole evening to him. And it took me a while, but then I had the guts, the courage to ask this question. John, look, you're into alien abductions. You know a lot about it. You're an authority on that field. You wrote books. You are the authority. But those aliens are really scary. They're creepy. They do all these operations, needles in your eyes, needles in the ears. Then we have this beautiful phenomenon of crop circles. Really nice, very friendly, very peaceful. John, what are you doing here? I took some cuts to ask this question, but I was honest. What brings you here? You're even going to give a lecture in Glastonbury, Crop Circle Conference. What is the connection, John? And then he told me something, and it really hit me, and I want to share this with you. He told me, look, I am now into a part of my research, and I found things that are so far going, so far-fetched, I cannot even publicize them right now. I don't have enough proof, not enough backup for it. But I think I'm on the right track. It's still so fragile that I'm not even going to say it in Glastonbury. But I will tell you. So he did. And what did he share with me? And I think this was very important. He told me, he said, look, those aliens, those nasty aliens as you call them, something is shifting. Oh, well, I know that. What is shifting, he said, it's not that horrible anymore. It's shifting from this horrible thing to much more educational aliens. Seemingly, the new cases, the new abduction cases, those people get much more training courses. They don't get these nasty operations anymore. But, he said, what's much more important, I have come to the conclusion that those aliens are not, they are perhaps really aliens, but there's something behind it. There's a force, a much bigger force. It's John Mack saying this. There's a much bigger force behind it, and it just materializes in aliens. But so it only shows itself in a way this force chooses to show itself. And this one big force, I think this is one unifying force there. And this one unifying force will show itself, will communicate with us in a way that is necessary for us. Not what's nice, but what it thinks is necessary. So we in America, we get all these nasty little creepy things. You in Europe get all the beautiful crop circles. No, he didn't say that, but... what he was saying is that the crop circles, the cattle mutilation, and the alien abductions, it's all the same unifying field behind it. It's this one field that pinches through, that continuously comes through. And I thought, wow, this feels so right, this feels so true, so much that I thought, this is the way it is. And I still thank him that he shared this thought with me, because I had studied now the crop circles for so long, and I read a book about it, a little book, you can buy it here, it's this book. I came to the conclusion in the crop circles that in the end, something was communicating with us, something on a bigger scale. I even came to the conclusion in my book that is ourselves, is some part of ourselves, there's not an outside agency. And John Mack tells me, look, there's this big field. And I think that's what's going on, it's this big field. And it can be that this field is just part of us. It can be, I think it is. I think it's this big, huge field. We communicate with ourselves. It tells us something. The only thing is that we have now to learn to communicate with this field. We have to try and to find methods to manipulate this, to do this, and get the result we want. And it can be that it takes until 2012 to get to that point, to get to the situation that we actually can manipulate the field. But I think we will do it much faster, and I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. So
Okay.
are you going to take your computer down or read it? What do you intend to do?
I can take it down, yeah?
Thank you very much.